Hi there, Sushant. Let's get stuck in straight away and begin correcting your education essay. So this question, is traditional schooling out of date? Does it bore a child and stifle their natural talents? And are there any alternatives? Is traditional education doing more harm than good? So the question specifically asks you, are there any alternatives? So what you would be expected to do in this answer is to provide details of some alternatives. So you have done that here, but what we haven't really covered in the body of your essay is how traditional education is boring and stifling. How does it stifle a child's natural talents? What are a child's natural talents? Well, we can assume that all children have different natural inclinations, things that they would be good at if left to their own devices. What a standard traditional education system does is expects all students to perform just as well in all areas. What we need, really, I would say, is a system which properly assesses what children are good at and how to encourage them in those fields, rather than just saying, well, this is what society thinks is good, so this is what you must be good at. I would have liked a discussion on how traditional education stifles a child's natural talents, and how a new system, how the alternatives would combat that specific issue. Simply because in IELTS, one of the things we're being measured on is our response to the task. And that includes answering every part of the question. So while you have covered this in your intro and conclusion, we haven't actually discussed it in the body. But that's the only thing you're missing. The rest of it you've responded to well. You've done so with a wonderful range of vocabulary as well. Your coherence and cohesion is fine, although this paragraph is much more fully covered than this paragraph. That's a minor detail in comparison to the task response. So let's move through and correct your sentence formation. Experts from the field of education have requested for the revolution, I would say, a revolution in old school teaching patterns. Deprecated is not the right word for here, because to deprecate is to express strong disapproval of something. So it is considered to be strongly disapproved of, this means, and does not inspire a child to study. So while that sort of fits, it's also kind of implied up here, so we're in danger of repeating ourselves. So we should refer more to the fact that it is considered to be increasingly either ineffective or obsolete, but I think ineffective is good. It is considered to be increasingly ineffective and does not inspire a child to study. Instead of using does not, we could say fails to. It is considered to be increasingly ineffective and fails to inspire a child to study. The old school method inhibits a child's innate talents. How? By expecting all children to conform to a single inflexible academic standard. I would say here modernization should be achieved by incorporating technological innovations and making changes to the schedule of the school curriculum. So this is fine, but if you're going to say this in the intro, you're going to have to discuss it down here. So, and I don't think you do. if you're going to, anything that you raise in your introduction must be discussed in the body and must be summarized in the conclusion. If you just have additional ideas sticking out in various parts of the essay, it's not very good for coherence and cohesion. So make sure that you keep your introduction simple, that it responds to the entire of the question, and that you only raise ideas that you will discuss fully in the body. So modernization, with an S, should be achieved by incorporating technological innovations and making changes to the schedule of the school curriculum. Yeah, so I would leave this bit out because you've not discussed it here. If I do come across it, I'll apologise. But to begin with, the revolution in education, in either the education field or the field of education, or the educational revolution, should be brought to action by utilising current generation technology. Traditionally, the blackboard was used to transfer knowledge from teacher to student, but by changing it to a modern projector-based setup, I would just leave this out. I would say engages. But by changing it to a modern projector-based setup, actually, we can get rid of this. So traditionally, the blackboard was used to transfer knowledge from teacher to student. But changing it to a modern projector-based setup engages students and allows them to learn more effectively. Since the computer is attached to the projector, the teacher can incorporate videos and animation to explain difficult concepts in detail. For example, as per the studies conducted by Harvard University, it was revealed that 72% of students using a more modern approach understood a lecture effectively, that's fine, when compared to only 38% of students taught using the traditional system. By this approach, students can understand the subject easily I think this essentially just restates what you said in your example. We don't need this then, because it's just repetitive. Be careful with parallel sentences. So sentences that in their words are different, but in their meaning are the same. Traditional education, the traditional education system causes more harm than good, as the syllabi, so the plural of syllabus is syllabi, as the syllabi which students learn are not up to date. For example, currently, so this is grammatically incorrect. It should be the frequency with which the syllabi are changed is approximately every 8 years. However, innovation and invention occurs at a considerably more rapid rate, and students should be made aware of new innovations as soon as possible, I would here use, in order to keep pace with the world. That's good. But it doesn't quite line up with this, actually. So what we'll do is, if we change this, incorporating technological innovations and increasing the frequency with which, let's say curricula here, so curricula is the plural of curriculum, are updated. That way, we're not talking about time frames and schedules. Instead, we're talking about refreshing, modernizing, and updating the curriculum. To conclude, An educational revolution is necessary to preserve a child's natural talent. Once again, we haven't yet discussed this. So you've raised it in your intro and your conclusion, but not in the body paragraph. I would say this can be achieved by allocating time to study. So now we're trying to talk about this at the very last minute. But don't forget, any idea you want to discuss must be fully discussed in the body of the essay. The intro just tells us what to expect. The body fully discusses it and convinces us of the reasoning. And then the conclusion is just to say, see, I was right. We don't raise new ideas in the conclusion. So once again, now we're talking about artificial intelligence in the conclusion, and we have not raised that here. To have a consistent essay with a logical progression, we introduce all ideas and our opinion and the topic of the essay here. We discuss fully only what we have raised here, and then we conclude only what we have discussed here. So it flows all the way through. Never ever raise new ideas in the conclusion. But one thing we need to make sure we do is focus on our plurals and articles. Specifically the definite article the. Just if you Google for a page with an instruction of where the definite article goes, it would be very difficult for me to explain every rule over a video lecture. But if you, I'll see if I can find you a page that contains concise instructions on the use of the definite article, because the problem with misusing the is it appears so frequently that mistakes will be common and will reduce your score. So the definite article and making sure we respond to the question and your plurals really should be your biggest cause for concern in these essays. But let's move on to your letter. So a formal complaint, we don't need to capitalize sir or madam, and I would do it like that. I feel the need to bring to your attention... I feel the need to bring your attention to an issue. That's okay. I encountered with your restaurant's food quality. Please allow me to elaborate, I would say, further, but also this doesn't feel necessary. I, along with my family, visited the restaurant yesterday to celebrate my son's birthday. As recommended by one of my friends, so this must be a group, we ordered the special dish of the restaurant that comprises of rice and curry. Again, no need to capitalize this. It was tasteless and extremely cold. We believe that the chef forgot to add spices. We don't need that. We believe that the chef forgot to add spices and served the dish without checking the quality. Even though we waited for 35 minutes after ordering, we received the worst quality food. Considering the price, we expected the best quality and tasty food. But it was, I would say, turn down of our expectation is not a phrase. I think what you mean is a letdown. It was a letdown, but that's not quite formal. So we should say, considering the price, we expected the best quality and tasty food, but it was entirely unsatisfactory. In addition to the awful food, the waiter serving our table misbehaved when I requested to check the quality of the food. You should really expand on this. What did he do? To compensate our bad experience, I request you to refund the entire bill. I would say just that. I request, and it would be easier to say, I request that you refund the entire bill as soon as possible. I will lodge a complaint to the Consumer Court as well as to the Food and Drugs, I would say Authority, just to be more firm, if you fail to satisfy my request. Hoping for your prompt action. Thank you, Sushant. Good. Not many corrections required there. and you did cover the requirements of the task. But in order to get a band 7 in grammatical range and accuracy, you must have a minimum of errors, and you must produce frequent error-free sentences. So if you are constantly making mistakes in articles and plurals, it will stop you from meeting the requirements of the grammar part of the mark scheme. What I would recommend, I don't know whether I've already recommended this to you, but if you go on these websites and just read an article a day, they report on academic journals. So it's like Science for Public Understanding. They report in a formal and academic style, and it's just a very good source of English. It's reliable. You can be confident that it is high quality. It's credible, essentially. Grammar is best studied simply by noticing it. And by that I mean just expose yourself to as much as possible and your brain will pick it up. If you try to read endless sheets of rules, it will confuse you and you'll find it very difficult to apply grammar rules correctly. However, if you just read and listen as much as possible, eventually your brain will notice the patterns and you will apply them automatically. So that's my recommendation for those. But I'll send this over to you now. I will also send you a further 2 essays for free because we really want you to pass the exam. But have a great day, Sushant, and I will speak to you later.